Hi, John with eTrailer. If you're looking for a more comfortable and controlled ride this summer, then check out the Roadmaster rear anti-sway bar kit that we installed on our 2021 Thor Hurricane Motorhome. Now, the Roadmaster Anti-Sway Bar kit is going to work in conjunction with your factory rear anti-sway that you already have installed. You don't remove that, you just add that to it on the back side of the axle. This is going to help you reduce the back and forth motion from swaying and crosswinds when you're passing trucks on the highway. If you've driven one of these motorhomes, a Class A like this, you know they're very susceptible to the left and right motion as you go down the road. It ends up with a sore neck half the time. Hours of that is no fun. The Roadmaster kit also has a front anti-sway option on some motorhomes that when you add that to it, it really minimizes the sway. Now, keep in mind, this isn't going to completely eliminate it. That's not what it's designed to do. It's just designed to control the sway so that it's not so violent back and forth. It's going to keep it more rigid. So here's what the Roadmaster sway bar kit is going to look like installed on your motorhome. Quite frankly, there isn't anything that I don't like about this kit. It's made in the USA. This is made out of 4140 chromoly steel. It's stronger than even the factory rear sway bar on here. This is 1 5/8 inches thick. It has upgraded polyurethane bushings all the way around. And it has high-grade hardware. We have grade 8 up here and grade 5 out here. It's just a good, nice quality kit that's going to help with crosswinds and with swaying while you're driving down the highway. It's made to work in conjunction with your factory rear anti-sway as well. Now, as far as installation goes, this is going to be pretty labor intensive. It's a good kit. The directions are good, the hardware is good, but it's labor intensive. Just in order to get some of the bolts up high up here on the frame, we needed to lift the motorhome up to relax the axle to gain access to those bolts. We're also loosening up the U-bolts on the axle here and the leaf springs. All of that stuff is going to require big torque numbers, big tools, things like that nature. Now, you can rent those. There are places that will rent tools for you. So it doesn't need to be up on a lift like this. We have it like this to show you the install. This can be done on the ground as long as you have the appropriate tools. If you're curious to see if you can handle this by yourself, or if you want to see what a shop has to go through to install this, stick around, we'll show you. Now, to begin our installation, we're going to need to mount our frame brackets, and the location is going to be at the rear axle here. Just above it, we have a round cross member right here, okay? And on either side, if you go over to the frame, you're going to see 2 bolts on the bottom. There's 4 bolts total holding it. We're going to just relocate. We're going to unbolt these, and that's where our bracket is going to bolt up. So we'll unbolt those, put that up there, and bolt it right back on. Now, the bolts on the Ford chassis are 21 millimeter, but they are extremely tight. We're going to be using a 1-inch impact to get these off. Now, with the bolts out, you can take the bracket and it'll slide up on the outside of the frame like this. And then simply replace your bolts. These will be your nuts on the back side. Make sure you put the flat edge towards the frame like that. You'll probably have to turn the nut to get these to start. And then you don't want to put these back on with an impact wrench. You want to put them back on with just a regular hand wrench and snug them up, and then tighten them to the specs that you'll find in the installation manual. Once you get both bolts torqued to the specs, you just go ahead and repeat the exact same process on the other side of the vehicle. Now, with our frame brackets properly torqued on both sides, we'll turn our attention to the U-bolts here. We're going to be adding the axle bracket. Now, one important thing that you need to know is you need to know on your particular RV if the U-bolts are going to be long enough to install this. If they're not, we have kits available here at eTrailer that'll be longer U-bolts. You'll need to check the top of the U-bolt and see if it's square or round up on top. And in our instance today, we're going to have plenty of room to add this plate. And when we install this, the small holes like this will be towards the center and to the back. So this is actually the correct way to install this plate. On the passenger side, the driver's side would just be a mirror image. We'll be using an 1 1/8" socket on these bolts. We're going to get some more spray lubricant on here. It's definitely a good idea to hose these down. That's what we did, but you can see we still have a lot of corrosion and these threads are dry. I did leave one nut on there to hold this. This is kind of going to be one of those things where it's awkward. This is 1/2 inch thick steel plate here, so it's heavy, this is heavy, and nothing really wants to move right. So just take your time when you're doing this. And the nut here. And we'll make sure everything's aligned here in just a second, but this is definitely going to be one of the harder parts. Again, these are torqued pretty hard, pretty high torque rating on them. So to get them off and then also to reinstall them, we have high torque numbers. While we're doing this, we want to do just a little bit at a time on all 4 of these. We're going to snug them up. We wouldn't like to ideally keep them the same length all the way around. We also want to keep an eye out on top of the leaf spring up here and make sure that the top of the U-bolts stay where they're supposed to inside that cradle. I'm going to torque them to the specs that I found in the installation manual. There you go. We're going to repeat that for the other 4 and jump over to the other side. Now we have the axle brackets torqued on both sides, and this was no easy task. This is going to be something that for sure you need bigger equipment and tools to be able to do this. There are rental places out there, so it's not a deal breaker, but this is not easy. So our next step, we're going to be hanging these brackets here. And we're going to be mocking the sway bar up. The idea behind our sway bar install is we want that sway bar parallel with the frame, as flat as possible. If it's leaning up or down in any direction, we're going to actually lose some of the functionality of the sway bar. So to begin with, we have 3 adjustment holes here on the bracket, and then on our frame bracket up here we have 2. So just to start with, I'm going to go to the top one, and I'll take the bolt that's supplied in the kit, and I'll run that through and then loosely attach the nut over here. And I'm going to do this on the other side as well. Now we can take our sway bar, and to begin with, I'm just going to aim for the middle holes here. So we'll bring this up. And we'll do the same thing over here on the driver's side. And then loosely secure the nuts here. Now we have the bar hanging, and we'll take one of the brackets in the split bushings here, and they just open up. We'll slide that over, and then the U bracket. Now these will go on the bottom side of our plates here, and I'm just going to swing this up for right now. Go right here, and I'm looking at the space from here up to the frame, and for me that is pretty good right there. Yours may or may not be. It just depends on different options on your motorhomes, but this is going to work for us. That looks very parallel, so that'll be good. Now let's take a look at some of the hardware that we're going to be using to attach the U-bolt here. We've got the grade 8 bolts and washers. So once we swing this up into position, we'll have a flat washer, and it will go through the frame. We'll finish it with another flat washer and then a nylock nut. It's going to be 2 per side. Also, this kit comes with grease. So we'll be greasing the inside of our split bushing here. You don't need a whole lot, you just need enough to coat the inside. These are polyurethane bushings. These are going to last longer than rubber ones. Basically, what this is doing is it's just going to keep the bushing from squeaking. Got the polyurethane bushing here. We're going to take our U-clamp and we'll swing this up into position. We'll get the nuts on here, and we'll just keep everything loose right now. We'll just repeat this same process on the other side. Okay, so I've got both sides loosely installed. Everything looks good. So we're going to start snugging up and torquing our hardware right here at the bushing clamps. So these are 3/4 inch. I've got a 3/4 inch wrench and a 3/4 inch socket. And we'll snug these up, and then we'll torque them to the specs that we find in the installation manual. We can take our 15/16 wrench and socket and do the exact same thing. We'll snug them up and torque them to the specs that are in the installation manual. Now we can move to the upper bracket and do the same thing. Now we can just repeat the same thing on the other side. And that was a look at Roadmaster's rear anti-sway bar kit on our 2021 Thor Hurricane.